Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift The Eras Tour. Presented by Capital One. Ooh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Progressive presents Adjusting to the Suburbs.
I never thought I'd care about gardening until I bought a house in the suburbs. But now I find myself in conversations about liquid fertilizer, and I wonder, am I the fertilizer guy now? No way. Everyone knows the ratio between phosphorus and nitrogen, right? Yeah, I'm still totally cool.
Anyway, when you save with Progressive by bundling your home and auto, that's the easy part of adjusting to the suburbs. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers.
Doing that, I was face to face with it. It was holding me by my throat, and it felt like it was sucking something out of me.
I probably should have been more scared than I was when I witnessed the exorcism.
I turned and looked on my right side. When I did, there's a beam on the side of the tree, a large beam. It's looking at me and I'm looking at it.
After I hit the lock button and looked back up, I saw red eyes staring back at me.
That they're going to show multiple gods all over the earth, be able to speak in people's languages, and at that point, it kind of converge into this one entity, which will be revealed as extraterrestrial. You'll realize that aliens are the gods of old, and at that point, it'll wipe religion out of the context of humanity.
No, it couldn't have been a person, I know that. I know that people can't run through the woods like that.
So this thing comes into view, and I see it. It's 50 yards away from me. It's walking on 2 legs. It's huge. This is a big, hairy-looking being.
Welcome. I'm your host, and this is uNcomfortable. Welcome back, my friends. Tonight, I have a listener submission, if you will. This gentleman reached out to me via email, and happens to be from my home state in Indiana. A little bit south east of me, I believe. Maybe directly south of me, about an hour or so, and has pretty interesting stuff to talk about. So, if you would, please give a warm, uncomfortable welcome to Greg from Indiana. Greg.
Hello, Eric.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Good to hear from you. How's things down there in a little bit south of South Bend?
Today's not too bad. A little sunny, a little cool, but it's that time of year.
It is. Boy, and when that first day of fall hit, man, it hit. It was like an immediate light switch. Somebody flipping the switch. It cooled off, and boom, we're into fall.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
There's no transition. It was all at once.
It was, absolutely. Weather is so much different than it was when I was a kid growing up.
Yeah.
The seasons are so abrupt now. It's hard to get used to.
Yep.
All right, sir. You had some interesting stories. Why don't you get into those for us, and let's see if we can go chronologically.
Okay, chronologically. So, about 2007, I was going through divorce, and I moved into this mobile home that needed some work in it, and they give me a pretty good deal. You know, if I did the work, they'd take off rent or whatever. So, living there by myself, doing the work, and I'd hear some noises in the kitchen, which is right next to the master bedroom. We walk through the kitchen and get to the master bedroom and master bath. So I just being out in the country, I figured it was probably mice or something in there. And that went on for a few months, and I met a girl, and almost immediately she moved in within 3 or 4 days. I know it's not a great idea, but
wow, dude, you move quick.
she moved quick. But it wasn't ideal, I guess, looking back, but at the time seemed like a thing to do. But after she moved in, things started picking up, as far as noises in the night and pots clanging, which is way beyond the mouse's capability, slamming pots, and we'd wake up in the middle of the night and the bed would be violently shaking, and
no kidding.
Yeah.
I'd
heard about that before, but I never experienced it. It was like one of those vibrating beds in hotels years ago.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was doing.
That was the best part of going on vacation, was your parents giving you a couple of quarters so you can turn the bed on.
Yeah. Lay there and enjoy the vibration.
So with both of you in the bed was shaking.
In the middle of the night, we're both sleeping, and it just would start shaking.
Now, was it like a vibration in the bed, or was like the legs of the bed itself rattling on the floor?
I don't know, the whole mattress and everything, the whole frame and mattress and everything was shaking violently.
Jesus.
So yeah, it wasn't like just a vibration. It was almost like an earthquake, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what was the conversation like after that?
Just a lot of questions. What was that? What would have caused that? And she didn't have any idea. I didn't either. It woke us both up, as you can imagine. But
wow.
And then kind of after that, we just had the noises. We just thought it might have been her kids that were cooking in the middle of the night, but with the noises. But then one night, I was getting ready to go to bed, and I was getting ready to take a shower in the master bedroom, in the bathroom in the master bedroom, and had the door closed, and I'm shaving, and I hear the doorknob rattle, and I kind of yelled at her, "You can come in, I'm just, shaving right now." And door didn't open or anything, so I opened the door, said, "You need something?" And she's sitting on the bed watching TV, and I didn't say anything to her. I thought, oh, that's kind of weird. So I proceed to get in the shower, and just kind of out loud, jokingly, I said, "Hey, if that was a spirit, write your name on the mirror." How it fogs up when you take a hot shower. So I finished with my shower, and I step out, and there's nothing on the mirror, and I thought, yeah, I knew that. Just kind of, thank God. Thank God there's nothing in the mirror. So then that's her turn to get in the shower, and I'm watching TV, sitting on the bed, and I hear the doorknob rattle, and I just kind of look, and nothing happened, and it rattled again, and I get up and went to the bathroom to see if she needed anything, and she's in the shower, and I kind of glanced out of the corner of my eye, and I seen the word Sarah written in the mirror.
Oh.
And her name wasn't even close to Sarah. And there's no way that she would have heard me say to write your name in the mirror. And as soon as I told her, this is not funny. And she kind of opened the curtain, and she exited the bathroom. She didn't grab a towel or anything, just screamed and left.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So then, a week later, she'd taken her kids someplace, and I was there by myself, getting ready, I was getting ready to go to bed, and I was taking a shower again, and I step out of the shower, and in the mirror is written the words, "Hi, Greg."
That's pretty specific.
Yeah, and something like that, she would have probably said, "Hi, babe," or something. She wouldn't have called me by my name.
Meaning your girlfriend?
Yeah, meaning my girlfriend. That was, it was a little nerve-wracking. I didn't want to take a shower after that. So we didn't stay there a couple months after that. But in the meantime, we'd had some paranormal investigators come out and kind of tell us, see if they could find anything. And they didn't really find anything, but the strange thing that happened was one of the investigators went into that bathroom and closed the door, and he was doing whatever he was doing, and he actually got locked in the bathroom. Is inside the bathroom, so
no kidding.
He tried getting out for a couple minutes, and finally we just said, "Sarah, let him out of the bathroom." We heard the doorknob click, and he was able to open the door.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was their reaction to that?
We were kind of used to it, I guess, but they were kind of freaked out. Like I say, it was just strange for one to get locked inside a room, and he tried everything to get out. And as soon as we told Sarah to let him out, he was able to open the door.
So, like, what was your mindset on ghosts and paranormal type activity prior to moving into that place? I mean, had you ever had any experiences prior to that, or was this just kind of like this stuff was so weird that you had no other choice but to start leaning towards?
Yeah, when I was growing up, I had some experiences with my neighbor's house where, they go away on vacation and ask me to watch their animals, and I go in the evening and make sure, I got them all fed, and leave the house and turn out all the lights, and the first thing in the morning I go back up and check them again, and all the lights in the house would be on.
No kidding.
And there was, my parents and the neighbors had seen some lights in the yard in the night, and, like balls of light, I guess.
No kidding. When you were a youngster, huh?
Yeah, when I was a youngster. Also, I had they had a wood. I know I'm kind of skipping around, but the house had a woods behind their house, and we go back there during the day when I was a kid, and I'd actually seen what I think now would have been Bigfoot structures.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I would think that there was kids out there building forts out of tree branches. They'd be like lean-tos on a dead log, big enough for me to climb in and mess around.
No kidding.
I was wondering who the kids were because there weren't many kids in my area.
Well, that's unusual.
Yeah, so just kind of putting out with the balls of light, maybe that has some connection. But I know that one of the neighbors had been back in those woods, and he said there was Indian burial mounds back there. My parents told me to stay away, so I never investigated, but that's what I was told.
And you had it all working over there, didn't you?
Yeah, all sorts of crazy things. I think once you have a few experiences, you start opening your mind to other things, and maybe allows you to see things.
100%. I agree with that 100%.
So because I know it sounds like I've had the experience of everything, but maybe it's because of early exposure and anything's possible, so then you're able to see it. I don't know.
I do agree with that. I think a lot of people that have had a number of different types of experiences throughout their lifetime, I think majority of the ones that I've talked to anyway, and a lot of them that I've heard, they all seem to have something that had taken place early on during childhood. And I do think that there's a disconnect that happens with people at some age where they let this kind of stuff go along with, like childhood ideals. And, my thought is that when you do have an experience, if you're open to it and you're not dismissive of it, and you kind of accept it for what it is, I think that helps shape a more open mind as you grow throughout the years. And I think you're not necessarily a magnet for that kind of stuff, but you are more accepting of being able to understand there's a wider array of experiences out there that some people are shutting down to and just ignoring.
Great. Yeah, I don't feel like I'm a magnet. I just feel like, I'm on the lookout for these things, and when they appear, I can see them, I guess, as far as circumstances. But yeah, kind of skipping ahead a little bit, back in those woods, like I was saying, a few years, I was growing up, and a friend of mine and I were hunting squirrel back there, and we were probably 20 or 30 feet across or apart, kind of walking parallel through the woods, and something came crashing in between us. We could see each other, but we couldn't see what it was.
No kidding.
Yeah. I said, "What the hell was that?" He goes, "I don't know. It might have been a deer, but I didn't see anything." I said, "I didn't see anything either."
It made a substantial amount of noise then, huh?
Yeah, we could see like the saplings. There was like a little patch of saplings that ran right through those. We could see those being pushed aside.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But I could see him, and I couldn't see anything in between us.
Because I had an experience while out hunting, and I heard footsteps. I was walking parallel to the woods. It's a longer story than this, but the ending of it was I was walking I had left the woods. I was walking through a field along the edge of the wood line, and I could hear the footsteps beside me within the tree line. And I had a very bright flashlight. I had the flashlight turned on. I could continue to hear the footsteps. They couldn't have been any more than 10 or 15 feet into the wood line. I mean, it was very distinctive. I could hear the leaves crunching in the leaf litter, and, I could hear things snapping, but I could not see anything moving.
That's the scariest part.
Not even the fact that I couldn't see the figure of whatever it was that was creating the noise. I didn't see any residual effects of it. I didn't see, like twigs or leaves or weeds or anything like that moving in association with it. That was strange. So the fact that you guys saw movement in what was being disturbed by something you couldn't see, that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, that was one of those oh shit moments where it was
I would say so.
So, anyway, skipping back ahead, we moved out of that mobile home, and well, I should go back real quick. My ex-mother-in-law had said that there was a spirit that was attached to me, and was jealous that that girl had moved in with me. And when I talked to the landlord about that, she said that there was a house on that property where the husband shot his wife on accident, supposedly, while he was cleaning his gun. So, I mean, take that for what you will, believe it or not, but that's...
Was your mom, when she indicated that there was a spirit attachment to you, was she Was she knowledgeable of such things, or was that just like a guess on her part?
She claims to be a sensitive.
Okay.
So she could like remote sense things, I guess, because she lived in another state and was able to kind of explain the setup.
See, that's interesting to me, because if you have direct blood from somebody who has abilities, it does not surprise me at all that their children to some extent have those as well.
Right.
So you say you're not a magnet for it, but maybe in a roundabout way you may be.
Yeah, maybe unknowingly. I don't know. I like the experiences afterwards, but not while they're happening.
Yeah.
So then, like I was saying, we moved from that house to an old farmhouse. I don't know when it was born. I don't know when it was made, but it was an old one, and it was, I don't know, probably it was a little longer than half-mile driveway back to it. So we didn't have any close neighbors, and I liked that. But the first day when we moved in, the girls went to their room, and in the closet, somebody had scribbled, "Ghosts live here." I thought, oh, man.
No kidding.
So.
All right, so you read that, and what's going through your mind at that point?
Not again. I hope this isn't true. But we just signed a lease for a year, so.
Had you not been in that property yet?
Well, we had, but we didn't obviously examine it well enough, I guess.
Yeah.
Just kind of glanced at it and said, yeah, this would be, big enough for us and in our price range. The landlord was a good guy, so.
And how did that play out?
That played out kind of. There was a lot of activity. Let's put it that way. So, one day, my wife had taken her kids to a doctor's appointment. She had 2 daughters and a son, and I was at work, and she had taken them to the doctor's appointment. And it was during the summer, and it was probably 10 or 11 o'clock, he said, and he was still sleeping, and he felt somebody nudge him and say, "Time to get up, boy." And he kind of looked and thought it was me, but he said he saw a guy in a flannel shirt and coveralls, an older man. He said he blinked his eyes and looked again, and the guy was gone.
Flannel man?
Flannel man. And the flannel man was seen again. We had it was just like a bonfire get together with a bunch of people, and somebody come up to me and said, "Who's the guy standing in the field?" Because we had a cow pasture right behind our house, and there was a barbed wire fence there. So just like on the other side of that, there was a guy standing, same description and everything, just kind of staring at everybody like he was disgusted or something.
Did you physically see him?
Yeah.
Wow.
Then I took my eyes off him, and when I don't know, somebody interrupted me, and I looked back, and he was gone. So I don't know. And I had no idea who it was, because we didn't have any older guys at our party. It was, the kids and a few friends.
So sounds like something obviously attached to that property, or that surrounding property.
So what I was told by Mother, that back in the day there was a little boy in the house that had mental disabilities, and the parents kept him up in the attic because they were ashamed of him, I guess, maybe what they did back then, I don't know. So we kind of attributed that old man to the one that was locking the boy up in the attic.
Mm-hmm.
I never got to do any research, and I've been looking, and I really can't find much information on the house to know. But I guess like what I told you the other day, that was told that the boy was still on the property.
That he had been buried there?
Yeah. But, well, that he was put in the well.
Oh, my.
Yeah, like the open well they had back then, but not sure. Maybe it was around the well, but I can't imagine them putting a body in their drinking water.
No, I can't either.
I don't know how true that is, but maybe it's around the well someplace.
Yeah. Well, that's terrifying.
Yeah. So we had a growl or snarl out there one night. We were having a bonfire, and we're all facing the house, and behind us we heard I call it snarl, just like that, just right in our ears. And we have no idea what it was, but we didn't stick around to find out either.
How many people were there that heard that?
There was like 7 of us.
And what was the discussion once you guys got in the house?
Pretty much what was that, and the people that were there that had to leave didn't want to walk outside anymore that night.
Now, was this again, in Indiana?
Yeah, this is down towards Akron.
Wow. So typically, for the listeners, central or north central Indiana is not very well known for predatory cats or bear. It's not to say that every once in a while there might not be a one-off, but typically that's not the type of wildlife we have in Indiana. So
no.
Did you get the impression that it was it something that, I guess when you heard it, did your mind jump to that didn't sound natural, or did it sound like just a wild animal?
Well, I didn't know what it was, because it was deep. It kind of reminded me of like a lion. How you felt it in your chest and you heard it. So I was just speechless. I had no idea what it could have been.
So it was that loud that it produced, you could feel it in your chest.
Yeah.
Wow. And again, you had a wooded area around that area, correct?
Yeah, there was woods, and then there was a cow pasture, like I say, and I don't even know how many acres. Like I say, we were kind of like lived on a crossroad, and the one of the roads was half a mile. On the other side, it was like just more than a half mile. So we were set back pretty far in the field, and anything could have been roaming out there. I don't know.
Yeah. But my head goes to what would be roaming out there. Central Indiana is not a mecca for a crazy amount of weird wildlife. We've got deer.
Well, the other thing could have been maybe, I don't even like going here, but maybe like a demonic or
Yeah.
Maybe it was something like that. I don't know. We had the power go out in the house one night. We were out at our bonfire, and just for no reason, the power, I want to say the house just like shut down. And within a second it came back on, but none of the other neighbors or the lights that we could see on the neighbors did that. It may not be anything, but it's just one of those strange things.
Well, it would seem if you guys were all on the same grid, you would think that it would not have just been one solitary dwelling that would have been affected.
Out of that, I keep skipping along, so just stop me if you got questions. But we're sitting out the bonfire. We had a lot of bonfires that year, but we could hear whispers. We didn't know what the whispers were. It was just like you could hear whispers, but you couldn't make out the words. Like I say, it was strange because it was 10, 11 o'clock at night, and our neighbors are half mile away if they're even awake.
Yeah. Well, you're putting a lot of check marks in a lot of boxes with that property, sir.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to be out of there.
So what?
One of the other really active days was Thanksgiving we spent there. I usually get up early on Thanksgiving and, start the preps and turkey and, all the goodies or whatever. So I was getting ready to get up. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and the way this farmhouse was, we had like the living room, kitchen, dining room, bathroom downstairs, and upstairs, like on the four corners was a bedroom, and there was like a open area that separated them all, and there was a bathroom, and in the bathroom you went upstairs to the attic. So it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just laying there, and I could hear footsteps, and underneath the door I could see shadows running back and forth. I thought, who is up at this early in the morning running around? So I kind of snuck over to the door without making a whole lot of noise and opened the door, and nobody's out there.
Who else would have been in the house?
Well, her 2 daughters and her son.
Okay.
But I just kind of, 2 of the girls slept with their door open, and they were in there sleeping, and his door was closed. I didn't open it, but he was like 16, so I imagine he was still been sleeping.
That sounds really reminiscent of my son's experience down at Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Seeing, multiple figures just crossing back and forth across the open doorways. Obviously nobody there. Just shadowish looking figures moving back and forth. So I would imagine seeing underneath the door, seeing figures moving around. You wouldn't have had any pets or anything that would have been walking around, possibly, would you?
No, we didn't have any animals. Nope. So on that Thanksgiving, there was just a couple things that happened during the day. It wasn't anything major, but I was getting the turkey around, and we had a portable dishwasher in the kitchen, and that thing shot off and pinned me up against the wall. It was on wheels, and I was prepping the turkey or whatever.
Yeah.
It had a cutting board on top, and it just pressed me up against the wall.
Now I can say for a fact, when I was growing up, my parents had one of those as well. You'd wheel it up to the sink and hook it up with a couple of hoses, and then when you were done, you'd wheel it back to the other side of the kitchen. They were not under any power as far as being able to move themselves.
No, this wasn't either, and it was just kind of freaked me out because I couldn't move, I couldn't get out, and there was nobody on the other side holding it. But
were there other people in the house?
Yeah, they were they were in the kitchen or not in the kitchen, in the living room area, which was connected, but I was the only one in the kitchen at the time. I'm yelling help, and they come out and they pulled it away.
Attack of the Killer Dishwasher.
Yeah.
Wow.
Later on that day, my wife at the time and my nephew said they saw a bag of marshmallows lift up off the counter, move to the middle of the floor, and drop down.
And this is all the same property with the flannel man, correct?
Yeah.
Sounds like he wasn't too thrilled with you guys being there.
Yeah, or having people over or something, because somebody was not happy that day. The other thing we thought was maybe that little boy that was supposedly there.
Oh, yeah.
Was not having a good day, because we think that he had an attachment to my ex-wife. She'd sent me a video. This is back when we first could get videos on cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
So she sent me a little snippet that said, "I love you," and then kind of blew me a kiss. And while she's blowing me a kiss, you could hear like a kid's voice saying, "I love you." So it was like
like it was mocking her, or
no, it was like he was saying that to her.
Oh,
that's kind of the way we took it. Where she said, "I love you," and then responds, "I love you."
It's like he was taking it directed as him, being directed at him rather than you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, depending on when he had passed away and how old he was and what year it was, he may have had no idea that what was in her hand was actually recording a video.
True.
So he may have just taken it as her speaking to him, if he was right there.
I think I might dig in a little deeper and see if I can find out any history on that house, because that's just kind of...
Yeah, I would say that's a significant amount of stuff going on there, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't just that. I mean, you could feel things, like feel somebody looking at you. Or we came home from dinner one night about 9:00, and the stairs to the upstairs were right by the door you came in the kitchen. And I was unlocking the door, and you could hear footsteps just hauling ass up the stairs.
Support for Uncomfortable is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for those sensitive areas. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code uncomfortable22 at manscaped.com. As I've said previously, I started using Manscaped products about 3 years ago with the Lawnmower 2.0. So with the delivery of the Performance Package 4.0, it has been a welcomed upgrade. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. First off, the Lawnmower 4.0, this trimmer is the future of men's personal grooming. Their 4th generation trimmer features cutting-edge ceramic blades to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and also has an LED light for those dark and scary areas. Because this trimmer is waterproof, you can say goodbye to the mess on the bathroom floor. And let's say you want to take your grooming game to the next level, the Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate ear and nose holes. Their Crop Preserver ball deodorant and Crop Reviver ball toner will change the way you approach your hygiene routine. Trust me when I say, fellas, your balls will thank you. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code uncomfortable22. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code uncomfortable22. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
So it's kind of like, oh, shit, they're home. I better get back up here.
Yeah. Yeah, if you could look into that history of that property, that would be interesting.
Yeah. And I also think I told you that took a picture of her at night one night where he was out there messing around. And like I said, I don't believe in orbs, but there was an orb in this picture, and in the picture between her and I, it made like a 90-degree turn. And like I said, it's the size of a golf ball, and it was white with a little bit of blue in it, but it looked like it was making its own light.
That's interesting because I've done some limited ghost investigations, and one time took my children with me when they were in their early teens, mid-teens, I guess, and we went and investigated a cemetery that was very close to where we lived, and I literally, and orbs for me, as far as trying to have a skeptical mind on things, orbs, people's interpretation of orbs in photographs, a lot of times it's dust, a lot of times it can be a bug, depending on the type of lighting that your phone or the camera you're using, it can illuminate things vastly different ways. So orbs to me are kind of, I got to take them with a grain of salt. But right. This one, I literally saw it manifest in front of me. And much like what you just described, this was at the top of a monument that was maybe 5 feet tall. A marker that was kind of shaped like the Washington Monument. It was a tall pillar, and at the top of it, it had a pyramid shape that was really highly polished. I don't know, granite, I imagine, is what it was made out of. And sure and shit, man, this ball, like you said, about the size of a golf ball, maybe not quite as big as a golf ball, a little bit smaller. It was a bluish white light. It had a blue cast to it. It just, out of nowhere, it showed up near the top of that monument, and it did like this crazy split second of a figure eight, and it's almost like the trail of it, lingered longer than the actual orb did, and it just kind of did this little zippity doo, and boom, it dissipated. It was gone. But thankfully, I had a camcorder in one hand, I had a old Kodak digital camera in the other hand, and my daughter was with me, very close to where I was at. And on the video, I got the orb. It showed up on the video, and all I can remember, other than being shocked that I saw a ball of light appear, was the sound of my 12 or 13-year-old daughter. Maybe she might have been 14. Standing beside me going, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, did you see that? And I'm like, Rach, watch your language. But yeah, that was
no watching your language at that point.
No kidding. That was really interesting. So, when people take issue with when people use the word orbs, I understand it, because a lot of times I think they're misidentified in a photograph. But I can say with all certainty that I have seen an actual orb manifest and do its little aerial acrobatics there and it was maybe a second and a half. It was if I hadn't been pointed in the direction of it, it was so small and so fleeting that I don't think, if I'd have been looking in another direction, I don't think there would have been anything that would have drawn my attention to it. Like, oh, what was that? I missed that. I don't think that would have happened. I think it happened not necessarily specifically for me, but it happened to do it right while I was looking in its direction, and I was very fortunate to be able to see that.
Did you ever go back out to that place and see if it had any more activity?
I have been out there one other time, and it is an active place. That evening, and at this time, Ghost Adventures was probably at the height of its popularity in the beginning first couple of seasons, and that was something we watched as a family all together, and we were really into all of it, and the kids like getting spooked, and it was always something that was of interest to me. Obviously, I've decided to go off and do a podcast about this kind of stuff, so it was always something that was on my radar. But during that one night, the same night that the orb appeared, we had multiple things that I was able to catch on camera. One of which was, and I've talked about this in other episodes, there were 2 gravestones that were very old and very weathered, to the point where whatever had been chiseled as far as dates and names had been worn down to the point where it was almost unrecognizable. And there was one that was still intact, and then there was one that was identical to it beside it that had been broken in half, and the other half of it was leaning up against itself. And from watching different ghost shows, like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures, I was always taking pictures in a series of 3. It'd be click, 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 click. And sure enough, while taking a picture of those two stones, in the second photograph, not in the first, not in the third, there is a significant mist that is in the shape of, I've looked at it, 100 times, and it appears to be the outline of what I would say would be an adult-sized figure.
Wow.
Leaning over, looking like their hands would be supported on their knees, so bent at the waist. You can almost see the sleeve, the outline of a sleeve, like the short sleeve shirt. The face, you can see like the shadows where the eyes would be. Almost looks like he had a very thick mustache on his upper lip. And it's so weird. But I guess to finish describing, it looked like he was leaning over somebody that was sitting in a chair, and I got the incredible feeling that whoever was sitting in that chair looked like I got the impression they were being chastised, like they were being yelled at or told they'd done wrong or something like that. But this was all just a mist. And, in the first and the third photograph, the autofocus of the camera, everything seemed to be in focus. The things that were further behind were a little bit blurry, and the things that were up front is what the camera focused on. And there was some clarity to it. But in that second picture, everything seemed to be blurred except for the misty looking figures. And, I know when I took those pictures, I know the length of time that it took to click. You'd hear the shutter go, and then it'd reset to take your next picture. Excuse me. And, there was not a significant amount of time between pictures. It was pretty much click, click, click.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't something that like appeared visually to me. I didn't notice it as I was taking the pictures, looking at the 2 gravestones. And then, there was an EVP that my son was walking around with his iPhone and had the voice memo app open, and, he was doing his thing. If there's anybody here that wants to get a message out to anybody or something like that, I didn't even tell him about this until just a couple of years ago, to be honest with you. He had gotten an EVP, and it said, "You shouldn't be here." And it wasn't like you shouldn't be here, like it wasn't something that was super scary or anything like that. I got the impression that it was like maybe like an older lady, an older woman that was just like telling us, "Hey, this isn't your place. You shouldn't be here," And again, I took pictures of, because this is a really small graveyard, maybe 2/3 of an acre in size, and very old. A lot of older gravestones in it from like the 1800s and stuff. And I just was walking around. I was taking pictures of everything. I just figured, if I had to go through 300 pictures to see if I caught anything, I'd do it. And I took pictures of the surrounding wood line because it was all trees around 2 of the 3 sides of it. And I was loading those pictures, and I started clicking through them on the computer, and my son walked in the room, and he's like, "Is that a face?" And I said, "Where?" And he's like, "Right there." And I said, "Where?" I wasn't seeing it. And he's like, "Turn the picture upside down." So I rotated the picture, and sure enough, man, there is a full-on skull. I mean, it is a white face. And I was like, "Oh my God." First of all, how did you pick that out? Especially when it was upside down in the orientation that it was sitting on the computer. But I mean, it's creepy. It's like, there's definitely something there. It's not pareidolia or, I mean, when you see it, I think I even put those posts in one of my Instagram posts at some point, not too awful long ago. But yeah, I mean, I guess the point I'm getting at is that one night that I'd been there, I had answered any remaining questions I had been answered. So have I gone back there? Yes, I went back there one more time, and I saw lights bouncing around in the trees. Wow. Not very low either, not like not within 5 or 6 feet of the ground. These were up higher, and they were small balls of light. I saw 3 of them on a couple of different occasions, and it was more resembled like what I said I saw at the top of that monument, possibly a little bit bigger, but pretty much acted the same way where you would see it. And those actually lasted a little bit longer than that, but and then they'd show up, in a completely different area later on in the evening. So, and I mean, I've been around for a lot of years, so I know what fireflies look like, and right. These were not fireflies. So it was strange, absolutely strange, for sure.
Yeah, sounds like it.
What else you got?
So I think that was pretty much that for that house. Couple real quick. I had a couple of UFO incidences, not there. Probably about, it was early to mid 90s. Friend and I, we'd go out riding motorcycles after second shift, which is, get off work at midnight, go home, get the motorcycle or whatever, and go ride for a few hours. So we was out riding, and we stopped in the country to have for a smoke break and kind of chit chat. And we're sitting next to this hayfield, and in the distance there's trees, like a tree line, and then the hayfield, and then the road we were sitting on, and then trees behind us. So I could see these 3 lights in the distance across the hayfield, and they were white lights, and they were getting bigger and bigger. And I realized that it was something coming towards us. I thought it was maybe 3 airplanes, but it didn't make any sense why there was 3 lights. So when I got closer, I realized it was on one structure, and it was a triangle-shaped aircraft, and I want to say there was 1 light in the front and 2 in the back as it was coming towards us. It was probably as big as, say, like a 3-bedroom ranch house, but it was probably 40 or 50 feet off the ground.
Wow, that's low.
Yeah, I could have thrown a rock up and hit it.
No kidding.
And it wasn't going any more than 10 miles an hour, because we sat there for 5 minutes before we could realize what that thing was. But it flew directly over our heads, and when we turned and watched, and they had to go up to go over the trees behind us, and then it disappeared, and we decided probably ought to leave and go home for the night.
So, yeah, I would say I probably would have left too.
But as it was going over, I didn't really make out too many details, but I did notice like it looked like front windows. I don't know if they were, but I couldn't see anything in front. But it's kind of like the front was slanted back, almost like one of those stealth fighters.
Oh, okay.
But this was going way slower, and there were no wings on it. It looked like a big triangle block. But the front was angled back, and there was like 4 big windshields up front. But
really?
Good.
Really? Windshields? You could see glass in it?
Well, it was reflecting the stars off of it, so... But like I say, I couldn't see inside, but I could see it reflecting some of the stars that were above it, I guess, if that makes any sense.
The body of this thing, did it block out the sky?
Yeah, most definitely.
And what the 3 lights that you were talking about, where were they positioned on the craft? Were they like at all 3 points of the triangle?
Yeah, on the bottom side of it.
Were they?
Didn't really. They weren't like spotlights, and I don't know. A lot of this stuff doesn't make sense to me. Why they would need lights, but
yeah, I've always wondered that myself.
So probably the other thing is, the Grissom isn't too far from here, so I don't know if it might have been a military thing.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because my uncle, back when I was a younger kid, he used to, because I got a hardbound copy of Project Blue Book as a birthday gift from my godfather. And my uncle had been over, and I was talking about UFOs with him, and he had told me that he and his buddy used to go drive down to some area around Grissom Air Force Base, because there were a number of UFO sightings around that base. And I had heard multiple reports of UFO sightings around the Grissom Air Force Base as well. Now, whether that was military technology that was being used or developed in that area, who knows? But it is consistent with what you're talking about as well. And
yeah, I mean, we're so close. I had 2 A-10s fly over my house today. So.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, I love those things.
Yeah, those things are they're monsters. But when you talk about something that's staying in the air, moving 5 or 10 miles an hour is not something unless it's held up by like a blimp with air in it that's lighter than air.
Anti-gravity. I don't know. I don't know much.
Was there any sound when that thing went over?
Yeah, there was no sound at all. There was no humming, no nothing. I mean, if you were in a house, you wouldn't even know that it was outside.
And the lights that you were talking about, were they bright enough? Did they illuminate like anything underneath it, or?
I don't remember. I was so focused on trying to see if anybody was in there, if I could see anybody.
What'd your friend say?
He didn't say anything. He just kind of stood there with his mouth open, but and I knew whoever was in there could tell that we were watching it. And I don't know how I know that, but I just had that feeling. And the first thing I did before we left was I looked at my watch. So we didn't have any missing time.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I think I was acutely aware of that part to make sure that there's no missing time. So there wasn't any. But
and did you ever have any subsequent conversations with your friend about that?
I did, and it was like, it might have been 2 or 3 days later. I said, Mike, what was that thing? He goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, we stopped and that thing flew over our heads. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So
was it from the standpoint of, I don't know what you're talking about, I don't want to talk about this, or did you honestly believe that he was not aware of what you guys had seen?
I don't know. I kind of took it where he didn't want to talk about it, and he was gonna make me seem like nothing happened. That's the way I took it. So I never brought it up again to him, but it's just weird that some people I hear react that way.
Yeah, that's strange.
And like I told you the other day, I didn't see anything on the news or newspaper or anything. I did report it to MUFON at the time. I don't know if it's still on there.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But here recently, I was on one of the Facebook groups, and from my area, and I asked if anybody, just by chance, if anybody had ever seen anything like that, and it's been so long that we couldn't specify the dates, but around the same time, somebody else had seen something similar or the same thing about 4 miles away.
Oh, really? Or 4 miles away from where you originally saw it?
Yeah.
Well, that's some pretty decent confirmation.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if these things, if not all, I'm not saying all of them, but in some part, are things that our military has that are intended to look like and act like extraterrestrial craft.
So I've been trying to figure out more on the TR-3Bs, but I haven't found too much information.
If you had to guess, like on the sides of this craft when you saw it, can you guess? I mean, you said it was only 50 feet above the ground. Can you a guesstimate to like the height of it, like the sidewalls of the craft?
I'd say probably 10 foot. It was a little bigger than that. And it's 15 to 20 probably.
In height. That's impressive.
I know I stuttered there a little bit, but I'm running it through my head, and believe me, it was in the 90s, but I remember it almost like it was yesterday. I mean, I could still see. It's something I'll never forget, I don't think.
Could you see any kind of like defining pattern on it? Could you see panels? Were there panel lines or anything or was everything just like flush? Was it shiny, or was it like dull, or?
Just like I say, on the front was the only place I could see like 4 defined, I'll call them windshields, kind of like in a V pattern, like 2 on one side and 2 on the other, angled towards the back.
Yeah.
But other than that, I didn't really see any panels or rivets or anything.
That's an impressive sighting.
Yeah, it's impressed me.
Very interesting. Very interesting stuff.
Never seen anything like it since. But
if you happen to be able to go back and look on the MUFON website, if you could find your report and take a screenshot of it with your phone or something and send it to me, I'd love to post that when we air this episode.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it.
Any other crazy experiences you've had?
Well, just finished up with one last one, kind of, I guess, is of my. I was up at my dad's last year. He lived in just north of Kalkaska in Michigan. He lives. He's got state forest all around him, and him and his wife had 20 acres, I think, maybe it was 40. I don't know. By taking my camper up to visit with him, so I pulled it in the yard, and like in the middle of the night, something slammed my camper.
Like it slammed into it?
Yeah, like it slammed it and shook it. I was dead asleep, and it didn't take long to wake up. And to go with that, back in May, my dad died.
I'm sorry.
But we went up the night before. We went up on a Monday night, and like we got in there and went in. We knew he was gone. And we went back out to set up the camper, and we heard what I want to describe as the Ohio howl.
Yeah.
It went on for 15, 20 seconds, and then coyotes started baying.
So it was mixing in with the coyotes?
When it stopped, they started.
That seems to be pretty common. I mean, when you're talking about possible Sasquatch vocalization.
Yes, I don't know if those two things were related, but I'll tell you what, it scared the hell out of me when it hit my camper.
Did you notice any damage on the outside, like the next day?
I looked. I didn't see any damage or any handprints or anything. But
now Kalkaska, if I'm right, that's north central Michigan, right?
Yeah, it's about an hour north of Cadillac.
Yeah. So the Manistee National Forest.
No, it's like Manistee's kind of in the middle to the east, right? This is like, we'll say it's 30 miles east of Traverse City.
Yeah, I'm looking at a map right now. So that's northwest of the Huron-Manistee National Forest, but nevertheless, that is a fairly wooded area.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reports from that part of the state.
And he lived up there for 11 years, and that was the only two real experiences I had.
And I could imagine something coming up and hitting the side of your trailer hard enough to wake you up.
Oh, man.
I know a woman who has a trailer just outside of the Huron-Manistee National Forest, and she's reported a couple of times of hearing something walking and running across the top of her camper.
Oh, geez.
With considerable weight behind it.
No, thank you. I had a motion sensor light on my camper I used for like a porch light for going to the fire and come back. You have a place to see, but that light was on too. So something had tripped it, and at the same time.
Creepy stuff.
Yeah.
Creepy stuff. I had a friend of mine who had put a trailer in Baldwin, Michigan.
I know that's
They had purchased a piece of property that was kind of landlocked. It was the piece of property that they purchased was inside of basically property that was not going to be owned by them. So they had an easement that they were allowed to drive through to get back to that property, but all the surrounding property was owned by another family. And they had put a camper up there, and it was going to be strictly for hunting season, and then to go up there in the wintertime and snowmobile. And they had taken a trailer, and it was nothing special. It was just, just something that they could get in out of the elements during hunting season and snowmobiling. And the property that they had was fairly clear. So they put the camper in the middle of the clearing, no trees very close to it at all. And they had, done a little bit of work to it, get everything prepped for the hunting season. And they used it for 1 year. And when they came back the next year to kind of open things up and get ready for the season again, someone had literally torn part of the back, the very back of the trailer, torn it off.
Wow.
And basically just peeled it back like a sheet of aluminum foil. And there was some other damage. And he said the most unusual thing was, and Bigfoot or Sasquatch wasn't even a part of this conversation at all. So, I wasn't leading him or anything. And he said that when they were first pulling up to it, aside from seeing the back end torn out of it, he said the thing that he thought was remarkable about it was that it looked like the roof had been caved in about 5 feet apart from each other across the perpendicular to the way the trailer sat, almost like if two large logs had been dropped down onto the roof of it. But he said the whole thing of it was they specifically put the trailer where it was because it was nowhere near any trees, 30, 40 yards away. So even if a tree had fallen, during the winter or because of a storm or whatever, nothing was going to fall on the trailer. And I think back to that multiple times. He said it almost looked like two huge bowling balls had been just like slammed into the top of his trailer. And, I look back at it and I listen to myself say it now, and it's like, man, was that two big fists and arms coming down on top of the trailer? Just
or was
smashing
something
it.
running across the top of it?
Huh?
Or was it something running across the top?
Oh, that's possible too, yeah. But something obviously, or someone obviously did not take kindly to that being there. And I've always thought it was odd because, that piece of property was landlocked. So whoever or whatever did the damage to that trailer quite possibly would have been used to that property not being utilized at all. Right. And was maybe pissed off. Now, could it have been troublemaking kids? I suppose. But
doubt it.
Yeah, I kind of do too. Interesting. Well, sir, we're a little bit over an hour here, and interesting conversation. You've had some unique experiences, and I want to thank you for sharing it with us.
Sorry if it sounded disjointed, but
no, not at all. You were fine.
Try to keep it flowing, but it's been interesting at times.
That's a good word for it. It is when you're open to these kind of things, it makes for a much more interesting life.
Yes.
sometimes it's terrifying.
Oh yeah, like bear hunting.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine years ago, God rest his soul, he passed away from cancer. He took me to his parents' property up in on the western side of the Upper Peninsula, way up there above
Escanaba.
Yeah, it was in the Waters Meet area, almost smack dab in the middle of the western Upper Peninsula, and right around the area of the Paulding Light. I don't know if you've ever heard about that, but I remember him taking me out to a piece of property. We drove into town, and we went to a bakery, and they had trash bags full of 4 and 5 day old jelly donuts and stuff like that didn't sell, and his dad had some kind of a deal with them. And during the hunting season, he'd provide them with deer meat, and they'd give him all the sweet stuff so he could go out and bait for bear. And I didn't know any better. We drove out to the property, and we walked a mile back into the woods, and we're carrying these bags of jelly donuts and all these glazed donuts and stuff that were old. And we got back to the spot where they set up their bait and everything for him, and he's like, just keep your head on a swivel because they're out here now already. So I was like, wait a minute, we just carried out 30 pounds of donuts and stuff, and you're telling me they're out here? And that was an unnerving walk going back, because I was sure that my everything about me smelled of day old jelly donuts, and I figured I was going to wind up on the menu for some bear up there, but fortunately we did not see any. It was unnerving though. All right, sir. Well, again, thank you so much for contacting me. I appreciate you listening to the show, and I appreciate you sharing your experiences with our listeners.
Well, you're welcome. I enjoy listening to the show. Good content, good sound, and very professional.
I appreciate that. I really do. All right, sir. Stick around. We have a lot more coming, so hopefully there will be something in there for you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
I want to hear your story. I want to hear your experience. So email me at contact.uncomfortable@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, then leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. Share the show with your friends. Share the show on social media. Make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter, all at Uncomfortable Podcast. And until next week, my friends, stay uncomfortable.
Progressive presents Adjusting to the Suburbs. You just bought a home in the suburbs, but no one told you about all the birds, specifically this one, who seems to be calling out Roy. Roy. But who exactly is Roy? And why doesn't he ever respond? Maybe Roy is just bird speak for save with Progressive by bundling your home and auto. I guess until Roy answers, we'll never know. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided in service by affiliates and third-party insurers.
Venture X from Capital One is the travel card for people always asking,
where next?
You earn 10x miles on hotels and rental cars, and 5x miles on flights booked through Capital One Travel, and 2x miles on everything else you buy with Venture X. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.